We are now live. Good afternoon, everybody. This was kind of an impromptu thing that we put together quite quickly. My name is George Bruno. My audience knows. And we all four represent today Christian Veterans United and a conference that's happening in Atlanta on September 10th and 11th. I am a content creator on YouTube and a men's coach. Deal with men every single day. Right now, I'm broadcasting live from a Toyota Tacoma in a prison parking lot where I work a couple days a week. So, dealing with men. Anyways, let's go around the panel and introduce yourselves. Let's start with Dr. Michael Robillard.
Hi, how's it going? Yeah, thank you so much, George, for having us on your platform. Really appreciate it. My name is Dr. Michael Robillard. I'm a former U.S. Army officer and Iraq War veteran. And after I finished that career, I became an academic philosopher for about a decade. I had research positions at the Naval Academy at the University of Oxford in England, and most recently at the University of Notre Dame. And because of the creeping, let's say, wokeism that has seeped into academia and the military, I decided to become an independent writer and scholar about springtime of this year. And I wanted to put together this conference under the banner of Christian Veterans United, talking mainly about four main issues: Christian issues, veteran issues, issues of patriotism, and men's issues. So if you can picture that, those sort of four quadrants, that is the thematic arc of that conference. It's a 2-day conference, and we have excellent speakers. Our two keynote speakers, along with our third keynote, Jesse Lee Peterson, are Roosh and Terrence Popp. And I thank them both for their time and willingness to be part of this project.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Michael Robillard. Terrence Popp. Well, we have known each other for a while there, and we just saw each other recently. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah. I'm doing good. We keep seeming to run into each other from time to time. It's all good, though.
It is. It's good. It's good. That's not a bad thing. Tell the audience about yourself.
Well, let's see. I was 33 years in the military system, 22 years active duty. I retired a first sergeant, and I don't know, I got creamed in divorce and decided to take it upon myself to go on a one-man comedy vendetta to point out all of the sore spots in the entire process and how unjust it is. And at the same time, trying to help guys, see that light of hope at the end of the tunnel that a lot of men lose sight of, and they wind up taking a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Excellent.
There you go.
It's good to see you. Good to see you again. And Roosh, how are you, sir? Good to see you.
Greetings. So I came up in the pickup artist community, teaching men how to fornicate with women. I was one of the members of the Manosphere. I guess it's still going on. I don't know. And, contributed a lot of work to the Red Pill and so on. And in 2018, God knocked on the door and I opened it and I turned away from all of that. And so I was recently received into the Orthodox Church in May, and my work has definitely changed, and trying to warn men of the dead ends that I pursued and the life that they should be concerned about instead of serving themselves here and now.
Excellent. Very good. I like the icon on your wall. I have that when I do my videos. I have a small version of that always to my left. And it catches the eyes of people. What's interesting is it catches the eyes of people who are formerly Orthodox and haven't been to church in decades. and their eyes instantly go from me over to the little icon to my left in my videos, and it's almost like it speaks to them, and they email me privately, and it's just kind of interesting. And that's a very significant icon right there. Everybody knows the history of it. Anyways, Dr. Michael Robillard, I'd like to hand it over to you to run the panel, and then I'll wrap things up.
Okay, excellent. So I'm thinking maybe what we could do is give a bit of a precursor for what you gentlemen are planning to talk about for the conference, just to give folks a bit of a taste of either the areas of issues of male and veteran suicide that is a horribly neglected element within our society that warrants exceptional amount of attention, especially on the 20th anniversary of 9/11. And then secondly, if Roosh could then talk about his talk about turning away from the elements of modernity and how that relates to these elements of men's issues, Christianity and patriotism. Does that work for you guys? And then I can jump in and I can add my third element about thoughts on citizenship.
Okay, I mean, whatever you want me to talk about, I'm cool. It's all right.
Cool. So, I mean, with respect to veteran suicide, I mean, I think that one of your talks I saw that you have online, I mean, this is early, 2008 or something, where it's the number of veterans that are dying now or by their own hand, it exceeds that of those combat deaths. I mean, this has to be an unprecedented thing within human history when you consider how soldiers and warriors were treated, returning from the tribe and entering back into the tribe, and now like they're just invisible at this point.
Yeah, and that's why I started that nonprofit secondclasscitizen.org.
Yes,
because you come back from deployment, you think you serve your country and all, you believe in the system, then you get hit with divorce papers and boom, you become a second class citizen on the spot.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of guys, when they get to that point, man, and you got the PTSD, maybe you got some other mental issues, physical issues. Now he's getting divorced and losing, and a lot of guys can't handle that. Boom. And I try to stop that. And to date, I'm up to 377.
That's good work. That's much needed work. I know I think the statistic I heard recently within the SF community, I think divorce rates are at 85%. Within EOD, the Explosive Ordnance Division, the joke is EOD stands for everyone's divorced. So similarly, right? Like within the bulk of the national defense, it's not just 1% of the population. That's your active duty. Then it's the sliver of that 1%. It's all being shouldered by like SOF and Delta guys, shouldering all this stuff, and their marriages and their families are suffering for it. And to my mind, that just seems like an exceptional injustice when the rest of the country is, I don't know, they're partying to DJs with face tattoos.
Well, it isn't just SOF units. Any frontline combat unit, either combat engineer, infantry, what have you. Those people, when they come back, 90% of them will be divorced within 5 years. That's a big number.
Yeah. How much do you think the civilian populace is aware of that number? I mean, there's this surface level, like you look around, everything is like, I support the troops. Thank you for your service. Like front facing, it seems like there's almost an excessive amount of regard for the troops on a very surface level. But I mean, do you think most civilians are even aware of that statistic or those issues?
No, no, they're not. And like, if you take the number they give you is 22 veterans a day are committing suicide, and if you go all the way back to 2001 and you multiply each day by 22, and you add it up over 20 years, you have more casualties than I believe Korea and Vietnam combined.
Yeah, yeah. That to me seems like a a symptom of something deeply sick about our culture. If that's what how our warriors are responding to, I don't know, their return home from warfare.
Yeah, yeah, and while I was studying that phenomena, it took me down a whole crazy rabbit hole. And from my research, I wish that they would actually have a paid study for this. This is just what I discovered. I discovered that in all of the veteran and soldier service member suicides that I heard about between 2008 and 2000, roughly 12, I would just get a copy of the obituary or article and copy and paste it. And then I'd do a word search for like estrangement, divorce, step this, and 70% of the time I was coming up with those numbers. I'm like, holy crap. These guys are having some kind of contact with the family court system, and it's basically putting a wobble in their psyche that drives them down a bad road to the ultimate solution, which at the ages these are happening, it's a travesty.
Certainly, certainly. So, I mean, that being said, like, to what degree do you think that this is even particular to veterans, or is this just maybe it's accentuated by a larger overarching institutional system, like you said, the divorce courts, these sort of excessive feminist laws that are rendering men into second class citizens? And I would invite the entire panel to kind of weigh in on that.
Yeah. Well, most veterans are male, so this is an overarching problem of what's happening to men in general, because the men's suicide rate has been off the chart since like the late 1950s, and you don't hear anything about it.
No, you're told you're toxic and that you're oppressing people. I mean, that's the second twist of the knife, I suppose.
Yes, and that's really going to help some people out. I'm just, it's going to work out great.
Yeah. Bruce or George, do you have any thoughts on the larger institutional structures of the divorce courts and the I don't know, the nanny state and what that might be doing to men?
It seems that all the institutions have become corrupted. So what the military is, they're going through their own process style of corruption that is destroying a lot of men. It used to be that the institutions were there for us, to serve us, the government, to protect us from, harmful corporations or people, or just on the local level, someone who steals and robs and kills. But now it seems like all these institutions, including the military, have been harnessed to hurt us. In fact, they're the primary weapon used to harm, attack, to program us, to kind of take us away from where we need to be as men. And this, what's happening in the military is just, I hear from a lot of men in the military, and you see the news too, and you see where it's going. It's becoming a daycare. There was men I met, two Navy enlisted men I met in San Diego, said that putting women on ships was the worst thing that has ever happened, because now so many guys are trying to sleep with women.
Yes.
And it kills unit cohesion, among other things. So, I see this. I'm not involved with it. I'm not in the military, but yeah, I see it, and it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, it's the number one thing that disrupts unit cohesion. It's just yeah, it throws so many things off.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah. One thing I should yeah, go ahead.
I fought these battles while I was in the service, trying to be non-partial in the whole system that's going on. But I literally lost probably 100 or so soldiers over my career. Just got out of the service because a female soldier could literally do the bare minimum. Okay. And that male soldier, when he has to be at the top of his game to get promoted. And like you have the female soldier and the male soldier who just busted his ass, go to the same, non-commissioned officer board, and the female gets elected and the male doesn't. A lot of these guys are like, fuck this, I'm out. This is bullshit. And I've lost a lot. I've seen some guys that would have whipped some ass in the SOF community, would have been a viable asset. Just say fuck it, and they took it to the living room.
Yeah, yeah, I would have a very difficult time. Like, if any parent came to me and said, I want to send my son into the military right now, what do you think? I don't know if I could advocate that. I mean, it seems like it's just not what it used to be. It's certainly, yeah.
No, this is how I sell it. When anybody asks me, should I go in the military? I ask them, do you have your college money lined up, or yes or no? If no, do your 3-4 years, get the hell out. Just get your GI Bill and move along. Get on with your life. Don't make it a career. It's not worth it anymore.
It seems that since we don't, as a military, fight the traditional wars like in the past, they look at this institution that they have, say, well, we're not going to really need all these people. It's not like we're going to do a World War II again. So instead, how can we use this institution to further our overall agenda to weaken and corrupt people so that we can maintain power in perpetuity? So it's like we're going to take the military, all that it was, all that it stands for, and just subvert it totally. So all those who are connected to it become pawns. And so other than the SWAT teams, which I'm guessing are not as corrupted, but they're trying to, it seems like there's just a few elite units that are maintained just in case, but everyone else, let's feed them to the drag queens and things like that.
Yeah, sir. I mean, this has been a thing that's happened for a while with the military because you have a captive audience, so they effectively can become a proxy for social engineering. And right now, folks in the military, they're getting hit from both sides with COVID, mandatory COVID stuff, vaccinations, plus trans, and those things, they're fundamentally incompatible with one another. You can't say trust the biomedical science. Oh, by the way, there's no such thing as biomedical categories of male and female. So I mean, it's a psyop and a subversion internal to the institution.
We've been living in a pressure cooker of psyops for the past 20 some odd years.
Yeah. Yep. And both you gentlemen have been, I think, ahead of the game in making that public knowledge in your own ways. That's when you look at the architecture of psyops and subversive activities. This is what we're looking at.
And the weird thing is that what they're teaching in the military right now is more liberal and gay than what I learned in university in 2000. Yes. 2001. I guess that was 20 years ago, a long time ago. But the things you're teaching in the military, which is supposed to be the leading edge of the sword to defend our nation, is more gay than what I saw in college. I just don't know what to say about that.
I know what I have to say about it. I just refer to it as a bunch of loose, gay, butt-twerking queers have now grabbed the steering wheel, and they are going to smash that that ship right into the rocks, man. They don't care.
Yeah.
Ah,
I think Roosh, on one of your Gab posts, you posted it was a Russian and American recruitments thing back to back, and it was you're just looking at it like what if you're going to bet on a winning horse, what are you going to bet on, the trans military or the SWAT team military?
So what that was, for people who didn't see it, that the Russian advertisement was focused on this gritty, muscular man who's jacked and he's ready to kill. He's staring at his knife like it's his son, scrubbing his gun, ready just to kill the enemies of his country. And then the next ad is a cartoon of a woman who said how brave her two moms were in raising her, and how much confidence it gave her, and that confidence of having two moms has allowed her to serve in the military. And you're looking at that and you're thinking, we're finished. We're done. This is it. The collapse is here. It's now. We have to live through it. And in 100 years from now, the history books are going to explain it all.
I'm looking at that. There's that guy, people should read this, Sex and Culture by J.D. Unwin, where he talks about, the rise of cultures kind of go through these phases of Spartanism to prosperity to decadence and then decay. And it's, you look at that and you go, we're in the late stages of Rome. This is cultural collapse right now. And exactly.
It's going to get ugly.
Yep. And he's. Yep.
I don't think there's that. I don't think you can stop it now. I think it's gone too far, and it sooner or later, probably sooner, it's going to come to a head, and it's going to get nasty.
This is just history would show that, certainly. Roosh, if you don't mind, could we talk as far as this subversion? I think a lot of folks, if you listen to a Jordan Peterson or a James Lindsay or Peter Boghossian, they might say the root cause of this is the Frankfurt School. If people go back to Gramsci and Horkheimer and the neo-Marxists, they got into the universities in the 60s and subverted everything. And were it not for that, then this isn't where we would be. But from a Christian perspective and from an Orthodox perspective, I would imagine you would trace the explanatory fissures a lot further back. And could you talk a bit more about that?
Sure. So right now we have as we've been talking, a society that's become increasingly corrupt, increasingly inverted, gay, outright satanic. And you can look in history for the ideas that came out, like the Frankfurt School. But to me, the root cause is that as a society, we turned away from God. We turned away from him. We got addicted to the pleasures of the world, things of the world, ideas of the world. And when you turn away from God, God turns away from you, and he gives you up. He gives you up to whatever you have been pursuing. So you want to pursue gay marriage? Go ahead, have it. You want to pursue transgenderism? Have that. And sex and addictions, on and on. So he gives you up. He turns his back on you until you repent, which I don't see that happening. And so what do we get? We get a obsession over the body, of this life, of our health. We get to this carnal mindset where, everything, my day-to-day life has to please me. I have to be happy. I have to feel good. My body has to feel good. I have to have dopamine released constantly. You get, again, the addictions to sex, which I had, the substances, the e-fame, the attention. You get a lot of disturbances of the soul, anger, pride, gluttony, this outrage culture, cancel culture. And all this just leaves you and your country spiritually dead, spiritually dead. And without God, that's just, it's just going to continue. This country is being broken down. It's just collapsing as we speak. It's not, some people say we're going to collapse or the collapse. No, we are in it. We are in it. It's become so evil.
We have been in it for a while, in fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what do you do? Well, on the individual level, you see what you did wrong and you sort your life out. You turn away from the sins like I did, the extreme evil that I was doing. You turn away from that. You sort your life out with God's help, not with a self-help book, with God's help. And then if enough of you do that, if enough men and women see the wrongs that they've been doing in God's eyes, then I think there can be some healing or some healing communities. But the nation as a whole, I wouldn't expect much positive change.
So if I could ask you a question to further that point, and I know I've asked you this before in one of your shows, like within the red pill manosphere, whatever MGTOW space, I think there's a lot of
which
different.
I'm currently not in.
Yes,
People in that space are like, Roosh, he sold us out, blah blah.
Yeah. Yeah, but I guess I feel like there might be a lot of overlap in terms of men that are lost in this cultural collapse, and some folks that think, well, screw it, what needs to be done is to be more promiscuous or to keep chasing carnal pleasures. And I mean, I equally fell along those same paths as well, similar to your own. To what degree do you think we need to caution men to not do that? It's like, I could say for maybe a small moment of time, you could say I ought to learn how to be confident talking to women or something like that. But then the extent to which it's gotten now, I mean, it's like, I want to start shaking people and you're going to kill everybody. We're all going to cut, this is all going to fall down. Stop promoting that as somehow this is the exemplar of what a man ought to be. This Don Juan is somehow the thing that our society ought to hold up as the pinnacle of maleness. The Dan Bilzerian, for instance, should be what the young man strives to be. Thoughts on that?
If you give a man who's in a hole a shovel, he just ends up digging a bigger hole. So the answer to despondency and despair over what's happening to the country is not to commit sin. That just digs the hole deeper and deeper. The answer is the opposite, not to stay in that trap of, oh, the world's ending, no point of starting a family, or no point of doing this, no point even doing anything. I'm just going to go get laid and download pornography. That just digs the hole deeper. And that at the end result, I mean, what fruit comes out of that? There's no virtue, there's no fruit that comes out of a life where you're committing sin after sin, like I was doing. I can speak about this because that's what I did. I was like, oh, the world sucks, and the feminism took over, marriage, divorce, rape, and so what did I do? I chased after girls all around the world, and I made the situation for me and a lot of other men who followed me even worse. So for me, the solution is to warn men that, yeah, I did that and I bragged about it. I tried to receive glory from what I was doing, fame from what I was doing, money, and on and on. And I have to now kind of try to warn men that I was wrong. I was wrong. I was very wrong. And I want to warn men, tell them that. And the answer is not to continue that. And of course, everyone can make their own decisions about what they want to do. If a man watching wants to view pornography all day, that's his life. God gave him the will to do what he wants. But I'm going to say that is wrong, and you shouldn't do it. And because if you continue doing it, you reach an abyss that is so deep that you wonder even what's the point to live. And it leaves you utterly spiritually dead.
Yeah. I hit that abyss myself, and I remember once they were explaining how being addicted to crystal meth was, and they said what it felt like wasn't that they were happy when they did crystal meth, rather that everyday life felt like a chronic burn, and that the crystal meth, all it was putting temporary ice on it. And that's where I was without God and without any moral compass. It was just hedonic distraction and alcoholism and sleeping and promiscuity, just trying to put ice on the burn of existence. And it was an abyss. And I wholeheartedly agree. I think reorienting to God is really fundamentally the only thing that individually and collectively can turn things around.
All right. Well, I understand you guys are trying to stop these men from becoming free-range fornicators in their youth. All right. You and I both know that is a tall order.
It is. It is.
So I'm one of those. I mean, I'm one of the rare exceptions in the in the male space where I communicate across the red pill, MGTOW, and the MRAs. And I usually bridge the whatever canyon is formed between those communities, which I don't understand. I'm able to bridge those with comedy. So I actually move, in all three. And I'm just teaching guys, one, the female mindset and the tricks they use. And two, how to not make the mistakes I made. I mean, come on. And, I mean, just the way the laws of the country are. I mean, I'm watching these young guys. They write a mortgage with their penis that, they're going to be paying for 20 years. And they literally, because the monkey on their back, they never climb out of the hole. They wind up 40-year-old working at Denny's. I mean, it's horrible.
Yeah. I think that's it's becoming more and more the norm, it seems like. And I think largely it's because, as you said, we're beneath the ratchet teeth of law that's been established way prior. So I wonder to what degree it's really going to require dissolving a lot of the ratchet teeth that are on top of us legally. Yep. in order to have any type of, not individual, but like collective chance to really save the damn civilization.
He did say that it's a tall order to tell men to do this or that, but with God, anything is possible. I mean, it's a tall order if you don't have God. If you don't have God, I mean, just to quit coffee is impossible. I tried to do it, I couldn't do it. So does a man, I guess, and I don't know the audience that you have, but does a man want the truth or not? If he wants the truth, but he wants it wrapped up in baggages of sin, I still want to fornicate, I still want to masturbate, then he doesn't want the whole truth yet. But if he wants the truth, you give it to him. And the truth leads to Christ. And that's it. Does he want the truth, or is he still attached? What is he attached to? He wants to masturbate. Why? Because it feels good. So he's still attached to the body. Well, we were commanded not to be. Christ chose us out of the world, not to be of this world. So it really depends. How much truth does he want? Because if a man is honestly pursuing the truth, it leads to Christ. Because truth is a person. It's the God man. So that's it. I mean, so I think it's a tall order if you don't have God. Yes, even the smallest thing, just to move a little block, is hard. But with God, it's not.
I think that's correct. That reminded me that when you look at something like any of the red pill movement type stuff, that's downstream fundamentally from a evolutionary determinist or atheist materialist paradigm. That's the intellectual waters that is found within, and that's just taken as pre-given now. But if we start really looking into deep criticisms of philosophy from Kant to Hume to Aristotle to Aquinas to the Eastern Fathers, you see that the paradigm of evolutionary determinism, it rests on an entire set of presuppositions that a lot of people just regard as just pre-given at this point. So I think part of what would be helpful in this dialogue, not this one in particular, but in the larger whatever male veteran Christian citizen dialogue is criticism of that paradigm, because that's the intellectual informational waters that we've been within, at least for the last 100 years. And there are very difficult questions that paradigm can't answer. For instance, if you look at somebody like a Dawkins or a Sam Harris, they'll say, all there is inert, valueless matter. Therefore, human rights. Therefore, workers' rights. Therefore, you ought to be a vegan. Therefore, women's rights. Therefore, Declaration of Human Rights at the UN. There's nothing about those bare fact claims that just let you pull these robust moral claims out of it. So they hollow out Christianity, and then they plug with evolution, and then they plug in their own ad hoc value system. There's nothing about brute evolutionary facts that generates any of the specific values claims that they make. In fact, Dostoevsky is correct in this. If there is no God, then anything is permissible. It's not absence of a God, therefore veganism. That doesn't follow at all.
And next thing you know, what they're going to do, they're going to allow small children to change their sex with the use of drugs.
Yes. Yeah. And because of rights, right? Rights. What are rights? Are they like spaghetti monsters? Are they like sky fairies? Let's stay scientific.
Well, and that's a travesty, because a lot of these children who are having issues with gender, at some point or another, they figure it out.
Yeah, and I think furthermore, children can understand the difference between real and pretend, and the gender ideology at this point, it's I think it's the height of a 1984 newspeak psyop, where you're essentially saying there's no objective world that our language and our concepts are about. There's no shared reality. When I say a male is a creature with XY chromosome pair, a penis, and capable of impregnating a woman, that's my truth, right? It could be your truth that he menstruates and gives birth. That's a complete metaphysical breakdown of a common sense world. And it is an absolute injustice that children are being brainwashed with this nonsense. It's cruelty. It's absolute cruelty. And we're letting it happen. Canada is just, they're just allowing this with total complicity.
And I hate to say that there's a good thing to come out of this, but one good thing is that now that men can see how evil things have become and see how there's a program of it, there seems to be a push of it. Well, if there is objective evil in the world, there has to be objective good. Mm-hmm. So what is objective good? And actually, the world becoming as evil as it has was instrumental in pushing me towards the faith, because it's not just a random series of molecules bouncing around that these ideas are coming. No, there seems to be a guiding hand that is corrupting things, and that I think could have a beneficial effect for some people in turning them towards God.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the darker it gets, it highlights the light in the world, and which is, I think God's redemptive quality.
But also, can I just, I know the topic of the red pill came up, and I don't teach tips anymore on how to talk to girls, even though tips on how to talk to girls could be beneficial to men who want to court a woman in a traditional way. But I've found out, and I was curious what some of you who are a little bit more connected to the manosphere than me are. I find that tips on how to talk to women, how to deal with them, really just gets a man caught in a net with a secular girl. Is really, you're just giving him tips on how to deal and manage with a secular woman, because a Christian woman, a devout one, yes, she's not going to be perfect, but she's not going to need, you're not going to need all this woman management theory. You're going to need some common sense. You're going to need to have a masculine attitude. But this, I mean, I'm looking at me because I wrote books on this, books and books on how to manage a woman, what to say when she does this, if then, like a computer decision tree, and I'm thinking, I guess that's still going on, but the more you know that stuff, the more you're going to want to use it. So now you're a hammer looking for a nail, and that nail is a secular woman who you're always going to need the hammer to deal with her. So for me, the trick is get that hammer, throw it out, and then you're not going to be looking for the nails anymore.
Yeah, I think that's completely correct. Yeah, you're just going to find what your value system is already looking for. Yeah, and it won't be a surprise when you find it. I think you wrote an article about that, something about like the woman that you find is like your spiritual mirror or something like that.
Yeah. So what you develop your mind. So if you're all day, I need the tips. I need the tips on how to get with a woman, attract a woman. Well, she's doing the opposite. She's trying to attract men by looking a certain way, by acting in a certain way, by optimizing her Instagram accounts in a certain way, or TikTok now, I guess is common. I don't know if people meet on TikTok or Tinder and all those things. So, I mean, what you devote yourself to is going to tend to attract a mirror of a woman who devotes herself to a similar type of thing. It's not going to be exactly the same, but the same involvement with the worldly things and manipulations, looking for the rewards. You're just going to attract them. So if you remove yourself from that and you trust in God, which is a hard phrase for those to swallow who don't trust in Him, but if you trust in God, He wants you to marry. You're going to marry. It's as simple as that. Mm. And people don't want to wait. No, I can't wait. I'm not going to wait. Just pray. Prayer doesn't work. No, I have to go out there and approach 1,000 girls. I'm talking about me, what I did. I have to approach thousands of girls all around the world and find the best one, and I'm going to make it happen because I'm powerful and I'm strong. But what ends up happening is you meet the wrong girls. You meet girls who are as bad as you are, and it's a cycle. But the thing is, you can monetize that. You can monetize tips. I can create a 30-hour course, and I hope no one on this stream is doing that, but a 30-hour course on how to pick up chicks, how to deal with girls. You can monetize that. But how do you monetize to go to church and pray and follow what the church teaches? You can't really develop a 6-figure job doing that. So this is why the path to least resistance is falling into this self-help mindset. I'm going to do it. I'm strong because I read the books, and it just goes on, and they're still doing it because as long as there's money to be made in helping men who desire things, and some of those desires like a wife and children is correct, but as long as men desire things but don't look at the church to satisfy it, you're going to get all these gurus, and I was one of those who led astray thousands of people.
It reminds me of this techno song I heard once where some says something like, it's a female's voice on repeat that says, I do coke so I can go to my job, so I can get money, so I can do more coke. And it's like, that's the loop that these folks are stuck in, right? It's like, well, yeah, I needed to get the high so that I can work harder so I can get the high. It's like, well, if you didn't want the high, then you can just not be addicted to that vicious loop. How about that? And they're like, but then I wouldn't get the high. It's like, you're not hearing it. You got to get out of the loop to begin with.
Yeah, it's a wicked cycle, isn't it?
Yeah.
See, like the way I. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
You guys hear? All right. The way I approach it's totally different. Like I deal with logic, facts, and reason. And right now, the laws that men are forced to follow were forged in the late 1800s and the early 1900s. And the laws that the women are using today were made in the late 20th century. So it's the equivalent of men fighting a war with Civil War equipment and women getting all the modern shit. I mean, it's a slaughter fest. And I can't willingly tell a dude, yeah, do this, do that, march right into the teeth and just get, flambasted by the system. So what I teach men is how to deal with like losing and finding your self-worth, and I talk about PTSD and other mental health issues. And I made a lot of pop culture videos where I'm just trying to tell dudes, this is, what, if you come across this when dealing with women, it is a temporary thing, and it's not a permanent thing. So, don't look for the permanent. If they have any of the like that crazy and tattoos and I go through the whole gambit.
One question I can ask you is, do you think a man should sleep with a woman before he marries her?
Yes. I have no problem with that.
He is going to get burned 100% of the time if he does that, because that is a grave sin. God will not bless a union when you do that. You must repent. Otherwise, you're going to get hurt. So what you're teaching is not due to laws. It's due to the sin of man who is going against God's commandments. Now, I'm not judging you. I don't care what you do. But I'm saying divorce, when a man is hurt, it's because he's entering a relationship based on sin. How can good come out of that? So I think what men should be more concerned about is not how not to get divorce rate by a woman they're engaging in sin with, but how not to commit that sin in the first place and enter marriage in the way that God intended.
I hear what you're saying, but I'm a realist. You're dealing with like the small percentage on one side that can adopt that way of thinking.
Well, we need to grow that percentage.
I'm dealing with the percentage you have here in the middle. Okay, I mean I'm tired of putting people in plastic bags. I'm tired of eulogies. I've been burying guys like on average 2 a year for the past 20 years. And a lot of them were suicide or suspicious deaths right after being served a divorce. There just was no suicide note. I'm sick of it. So I'm dealing with this. You're trying to get them down to here. I'm not a guy to sell God or anything. That's not my deal. I'm just trying to keep dudes from killing themselves.
God doesn't have to be sold, that I can say. But I guess to Michael, I can say, one challenge for either Terrence or me is we're going to talk to a large audience that is going to be at different stages of their lives, right?
Yes.
So not every man is where I'm at. Not every man is where he's at, and so on. So how do we craft a speech that can, have something that can hit each person without making them defensive or angry or something?
Yeah, that's a challenge. Right? Point. Yeah, you're right, because this will, it's a broad canopy group that I'm trying to bring together, because I want to have a variety of pluralistic perspectives, and I think everybody has something to contribute, and a lot of different personal perspectives that are invaluable. So yeah, I agree. I think that I can send out some. I'll think about that a bit, but I can send out some maybe some framing things so we can have a good productive debate and or discussion that still addresses a plural audience.
But of course, I don't mind if people don't agree with me. That's fine. I just want to share my views, how I got there. It's through experience, through bad experiences. And
yep. So, good. That's helpful.
I can respect that. That's cool.
Sure.
So I had two thoughts to jump in on Terrence's point. One was, are you guys familiar with Valerie Solanas' Scum Manifesto, the Society for Cutting Up Men? She wrote this in 1965. She shot Andy Warhol, didn't kill him, but she attempted to assassinate him. But the general thesis of it was something to the effect of, because of modern technology and because of in vitro fertilization, men are now redundant. So they're at worst oppressive and at best redundant, so that the arc of human history will necessarily be a phasing out of men as such and replacing them totally by a matriarchal system with technology and a bunch of sperm banks. So I'm thinking like there's that ethic, that direction of travel, and then you have folks like Jordan Peterson. I think a couple of years ago he said something like, "What do you want? Do you want to criminalize all men at some point? Right? Is that the goal? Is that the utopia that we're heading to? Is just to add more and more laws until all masculinity in all expressions is fundamentally criminalized?" So I'm wondering to what degree you think there's like it's not a pendulum, but it's a one-way ratchet in this direction of travel. And like Terrence said, it's like guys with muskets trying to fight killer drones or something. Do you think there's a direction of travel that we're heading?
We're obviously, if you study the eschatology of the Orthodox Church, we're getting towards the end, and the end of times is very difficult. So that's why things are progressively getting worse and worse and worse. It's not going to go back. Nothing is going to go back to how things were, and how things were probably through our rosy lens was better than it probably was. That said, I'm not scared of laws against men. So what? Laws against vaccine mandates. So what? Christians were martyred and persecuted. They were burned, torched. They suffered a lot. And I don't like to have to wear a face mask when I go to the store. I'm not getting the vaccine and so on. But yeah, evil men will have made laws since man started. They always do this, and they keep on going. I'm not focused on them. I'm focused on serving God through the difficulties of this world, because like I said, Christ chose us out of this world. We don't have to worry about that. He tells us, he instructs us, he commands us not to worry. He feeds the sparrows every day. Why are you worried? Actually, being anxious, he commands us not to be. So that I say, bring it on. Bring on all of the laws. Let me test my faith, because if it's going to allow my faith to deepen, I'm following God. I know there was a reference made to logic, facts, and reason, but if it is truly logic, facts, and reason, where does that come from? All truth comes from God. So if it is really the fact, then the fact is that, this is what God wants us to do. So it doesn't bother me. It is, of course, upsetting. You wish the world was better, but this world is never going to be heaven anyway. So you endure, you pray, and you get ready for the world to come.
Well, we obviously have different opinions, but I think they all kind of converge in the same place. Dr. Michael Robillard, the Faith and Freedom Conference on September 10th and 11th in Atlanta. Tell us about it. From what I heard, it's going to be about 300 live attendees. About 100 people will be watching online. What else can you tell us about it?
So yeah, thanks for reminding me about that. So it's a 2-day conference, Friday and Saturday. We have a host of Christian speakers, veteran speakers, patriotic speakers, and folks concerned about issues of free speech. So Roosh and Terrence Popper are the two keynotes. Our third keynote is Jesse Lee Peterson. We also have James or John Lovell from Warrior Poet Society, who, Ranger and family man, Christian from the area around Georgia. We also have Michael O'Fallon. He works with James Lindsay on the Sovereign Nations Project. So he's been doing a lot of good work about issues of free speech in academia and beyond. Myself, I'm talking Tim Gordon from Rules for Retrogrades, Michael Voris from Church Militant. Trying to think what else, but it's about a 14 to 15 person male speaking conference. Like I said, talking about the main issues of faith, family, and flag, and what we can do individually and collectively as we're heading into this new uncertain times. And I hope anybody who is interested can attend in person or online. And the hope is that on the back end of this, we then have the beginnings of a network of people who've been brought together, who then we can have follow on groups and meetings and conferences after the fact. So that's the structure of it, and I hope that gives people a better outline of what this involves.
Hey, Michael, am I the only Orthodox speaker?
I believe you are. I believe you are. I think so. Yeah.
Pressure's on.
You got 3 trad guys that are gonna whatever debate about St. Basil or whatever the Cappadocians. So and I will sit back and take notes.
Now, is it? It's at a hotel, and will be people staying at the hotel that the actual conference is at?
No, it's at the First Baptist Church in Woodstock, which is right outside of Atlanta, and people would have to get their own hotels around the area. I mean, it's like a lot of very reasonable prices around there. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And George, are you going to show up there?
I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure. Possibility.
Cool.
Possibility.
Love to have you on one day or the other if you can make it, man.
Yeah. And is this the first one, or is this in a line of conferences?
This is the 1.0 version. We're building the plane in the air. So
Okay.
we'll see. We'll see how this goes on September 11th and see where we go from here. But the ambition is to have it repeatable at least once a year.
Yeah. Yeah. And will all these speeches be recorded on video?
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a plan. We're live streaming it, and then we'll have side interviews and stuff like that. And I think Michael Voris is bringing his production crew as well.
Gotcha. Okay. Good. That's great. Well, the hour went by fast, gentlemen. I know we can cover more. Thank you for your time. Talking about the Faith and Freedom Conference with Christian Veterans United. What is the website, Dr. Michael?
It's just www.christianveteransunited.com.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you, Terrence. Thank you, Roosh.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you, George.
All right. Have a great day.
You too. Peace.